Hi, folks. Today I'm here to present to you the efficiency equation. In this talk, I'll cover how Collector's data team of 10 has been able to achieve outsized impact through choosing the right set of tools, through AI-based development and agile prioritization. And in a time where efficiency and ROI are top of mind for data leaders, I hope that our learnings will apply to folks in this room as well. So what does Collectors do? We provide industry-leading authentication and grading services for Pokemon cards, sports cards, coins, comics, video games, and other sorts of memorabilia. In addition, we also provide digital tools to help collectors manage their collections and get liquidity for their items. And to give you an idea of scale, every single day we receive over 80,000 physical items that go through our entire operational process until they're finally graded. My name is Rohan Thakur. I'm the Director of Analytics at the company. I started in December 2022. And we operate in one central data team that serves our data needs across the organization, including all of our business lines and functions therein. OK, so let me set the stage for where we were in December 2022 when I started at the company. So as a company that was over 30 years old at that point, we had a lot of legacy infrastructure. Most notably, we had a SQL Server reporting services instance with over 700 dashboards that had been built almost a decade prior and were barely maintained. We also had multiple Tableau instances, some through acquisition of companies, some that we had spun up in-house. And this, of course, created a challenging developer experience for our team members every time they had to make changes. It should also be no surprise that with these disparate systems, we had a lack of trust in our metrics from our executive team as well. Business reviews were this massive exercise in sourcing numbers that could take weeks. And when you were finally in the business review, it was spent questioning those numbers. So it was a less than ideal situation, but at the same time, our company had very ambitious plans to release new products and modernize the collecting experience entirely. And through all this, we had a small but mighty data team of 10 serving a pretty large organization. And we knew we had to prove value of a data function to the organization with that team. So we set the following goals. First and foremost, we needed to create a data foundation at the company. And that foundation would be composed of the data infrastructure and platform, of course, but also of well-governed and curated data sets. This would require migrations from all the legacy infrastructure that I mentioned in the past slides in order to create trust and alignment in our metrics. We also knew that while we were doing these large migrations, we also needed to provide timely strategic analytics for all the new releases that we had planned. And most importantly, we wanted to create a data org in which best-in-class practitioners wanted to work and practice their craft. So now I'll get into some of the tactics that we used to accomplish these goals with the limited resources that we had. First and foremost, we prioritized full-stack data analysts who could deliver value end-to-end. So we realized very quickly that if we split functions such as analytics engineering and BI, for example, there was far too much surface area for each one of those teams to cover. And therefore, we'd be far more effective if each analyst was enabled to deliver value end-to-end with a little bit of ingestion, data modeling, BI reporting, as well as deep dive analytics. But full stack analysts can only be effective if the tools you have don't create silos and fragmentation for them. And we definitely had that problem where they weren't enabled to do their best work in that seamless way. And so for that reason, our next tactic was to propose an entirely new data stack. So from left to right, you have our data sources. We use Hibo to extract and load that data into Google BigQuery, which is our central data warehouse. We really doubled down here on dbt in order to create that governed data foundation for the company that folks could trust. After considering a wide variety of BI tools, we finally landed on Lightdash because of its tightly coupled nature with dbt. So Lightdash is a BI layer that can be fully spun up simply from the dbt project that most people are already maintaining, and that allows us to have this tight coupling that ensures no divergence between your analytics engineering transformation layer and your BI layer, so which leads to higher accuracy that end stakeholders are receiving, but also an increased pace of development since it's all happening in the same repo. So now I want to double click a little bit into that end-to-end analytics workflow. So previously, the workflow might have looked something like this. An analytics engineer gets access to a new data source. They model that data source, and when they're comfortable with the model they've produced, they put together a pull request that goes for review to the rest of the team. After this is reviewed, this gets merged into production. Now, the BI analyst might pick up this data set, and based on the BI tool they're working with, this might require another pull request of their changes. This is when a stakeholder traditionally gets involved and starts giving feedback. This feedback might necessitate changes in your transformation layer, which means this might go back to the analytics engineer who has to make another pull request. And hopefully, that fixes all the changes, and with a couple of merges, end value is delivered. Well, what our process looks like today is our full stack data analyst in that very first PR is able to include some metrics in the YAML file that they're already updating. And through the use of GitHub Actions, we now have a BI preview environment in the pull request that they initially produce based on their dbt dev schema. And what that means is that you can pull your stakeholders into that first pull request and get feedback immediately. And our analysts are expected not only to make code and modeling changes in that first PR, but also to create charts, visualizations, and examples of how their data sets are meant to be used. And by pulling stakeholders into that first PR, we've been able to achieve tighter feedback cycles, shorter dev cycles overall, but also because of this tight coupling with the transformation layer, you have faster output, which is also more reliable. Our next tactic was to change some of our planning and processes. So for a long time, the data team at Collectors was viewed as a service org that would take requests ad hoc. We now plan our large projects in advance based on business priorities and analytics opportunities, but also leave room for our Epic owners to adapt for support requests that come in as well, as is the nature of any data role. And utilizing Kanban prioritization for this has really helped us continuously deliver value as requirements evolve. In addition, another tactic that has helped us tremendously is ARDs, or Analytics Requirement Docs. So these are documents authored by our team in parallel with business requirements documents and product requirements documents. And in this document, we're basically trying to outline metrics ahead of time that are going to be used to monitor progress or measure success of any large release. So once we get stakeholder acceptance of these metrics and dimensions ahead of time, this document is also used to coordinate with engineering teams to ensure they're collecting the right data to enable us to deliver these metrics. And where previously we might have missed the mark in delivering analytics for new releases. Using this process, we've been able to deliver analytics on day one for many large releases in the past couple of years. So after implementing these tactics 1 year in, we were pacing pretty well towards our goals, but we noticed there were still some opportunities where we could do better. So firstly, we noticed the data team was becoming a blocker for really small tasks that would often linger in our backlog. So these were things that weren't necessarily laddering up to anything urgent or one of our large projects, and we noticed that they would just kind of stick around as these requests in our backlog that we were never able to get to or prioritize. In addition, we also had tech debt piling up because we had been so focused on delivering business value. So we realized there were still opportunities to introduce more tactics to supercharge our output. The first of these was the embedded analyst program, which is really aimed at democratizing not only data exploration, but also development on dbt. So we started to notice that there was a desire outside of our team to grow analytically, to contribute to our repo, and people had opinions on definitions of our metrics and how analytics should be done. So we went about trying to get buy-in from various stakeholders and leaders in the business so that we could formalize this program and empower others to deliver on dbt outside of the data team. And today we're running quarterly cohorts with team approval to onboard new developers onto our platform. And we have over 12 such folks at the company who don't sit in the central data team. The best example of success of this program, so if you recall, I mentioned that every single day we receive 80,000 physical items. Each of these items is imaged multiple times by our operations teams, and each imaging action has an event associated with it, with many semi-structured attributes. And we do have a data mart that's modeled around our imaging data set. But one day, I noticed that we received these release notes about usability and quality attributes that had been added to that semi-structured JSON. And after those release notes came in, shortly after that, we also noticed that a pull request came in from one of the software engineers on the imaging team who had very nicely modeled out those quality attributes and also defined quality-related imaging metrics and created reporting around those as well. And so this is a great example of how democratizing dbt development allowed us, without planning, without any more data resources, to still deliver value to our end stakeholders in data marts that we had previously modeled. In addition to this, of course, we've also adopted AI-driven development. So we have Augment Code, which our analysts now use in VS Code. Augment directly integrates with Jira, where we keep all our tickets, with GitHub, where all our code is, and with Confluence, where all our documentation lives. And this allows our analysts to have a context-aware agent available in their development workflow. So this, of course, helps them a lot in generating tests, documentation, boilerplate metrics in the YAML layer, but has been extremely useful as well in generating entirely new data models related to new data sources when they embark upon a data modeling exercise. In addition, something that our organization has found tremendously useful is a tool called Glean, which has all our organizational context around fast evolving projects accessible through a chat interface. And these are some AI tools that have helped our analysts. So fast forward to today, how are we doing with respect to the goals that we had initially set out to achieve? Firstly, I'm happy to say that all our large migrations are done. So we do now have that data foundation that we had set out to build. And now our business reviews are more about strategy, less time spent sourcing those basic numbers and arguing about the validity of said numbers. Secondly, using our new planning processes and ARDs, we've been able to release multiple cross-company integrations, partnerships, and entirely new product lines with analytics on day one, which was inconceivable for us prior. In addition to that, we have a data org that practitioners want to be in. So looking around the room in our data team meetings, it's really great to see the people who were there at the very beginning of this journey are still with us, and we've had them advance in their careers as well. So what are some of our key takeaways from this data journey? Firstly, the full stack data analyst model has worked wonders for us. I would ask folks to question if there is fragmentation in your tooling that is necessitating this fragmentation in job descriptions, or if specialization is really serving you. In many cases, it might, but this is a question we need to ask given the fragmented nature of tooling that exists in the AE and BI space, especially today. Secondly, doubling down on our developer experience has allowed us to produce faster and more accurate output for our stakeholders, which has resulted in end-user delight. That well-governed data model is critical in creating that data foundation that is trusted by your company. But at some point, that will become a blocker in your analytics journey if everything is always centrally governed. And so I would urge folks to consider what is the right time to democratize DBT development apart from data exploration as well. And lastly, there's a million AI tools out there, and it can be tempting to pounce on the latest thing, but we've found that failing fast on our AI POCs has actually led to us finding the tools that can make those incremental benefits to our dev workflow sooner. So defining these POCs clearly upfront, time boxing them, and failing as fast as you can or doubling down is really the way that has succeeded for us in AI POCs. And lastly, what are some of the next steps that we are excited about? So firstly, if you were here in this room earlier today, there was a great presentation about AI for natural language querying. We are super excited about Lightdash's agents that are available, and we're actively testing those as we speak. Secondly, with dashboards as code, we're really looking forward to the day when you can pull that into your dev process as well. And LLMs have plenty of promise in not only generating data models, but also generating dashboards in that first PR, saving our analysts more time. So with that, I'll wrap up. I'm happy to stick around, take any questions that folks might have. Thank you. Exactly. So there's a GitHub action on our preview, on our pull requests. That's the question is, are you spinning up a Lightdash preview environment on every new pull request? And the answer to that is yes. We have a GitHub action that spins up a Lightdash preview. So this is a simple CLI command that Lightdash has available. Every developer on our team has a dev schema in which they're prototyping their data models anyway. So this entire preview environment points to that dev schema and allows our reviewers not only to review code changes, but also data from those dev schemas in a consumable BI environment. And to add on to that, our analysts also produce pretty much final dashboards in that preview environment, and you're able to promote those to production similarly to how you would do with code. And that's what makes dashboards as code even more exciting, is to kind of bring LLMs into that whole process as well. Yeah, it's a pretty, well, it's not super new, but it's a newish feature that Lightdash has released in terms of having dashboards as code. And there isn't necessarily a lot of documentation around how that YAML is structured. It is YAML. And so for that reason, we haven't found LLMs to be super effective in generating those dashboards end to end. So it has been easier to kind of click, drag, drop, generate those charts, have that in the PR anyway, and then promote those to production. And for those who didn't hear the question, it was, is there anything that's stopping you from pulling in these dashboards as code earlier into that dev cycle? Any takers? Last questions? Yeah?
Maybe I missed this, but hopefully not. When you say full stack analyst, what does that mean for you? What's the start of full stack and what's the end of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So how do you define a full stack analyst is the question, and where does that start at the leftmost bound and kind of where does it end? For us, we do have a data platform principal engineer, so we don't expect our full stack data analysts to be ingesting from a custom Kafka topic, for example. But if it involves setting up a new connector through our tool Hivo, which resembles Fivetran, that is totally an expectation of the full stack data analyst. So I would say basic ingestion, all of data modeling, all of BI/reporting, and then as far right as they want to go with deep dive analytics, predictive analytics, and more. All right, if there's nothing else, I can wrap up here, and I'll be around if anyone wants to chat further. Thank you.